Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Natural Super Kids podcast. Today we are continuing with the topic of different minerals for kids. Last week we talked about iron and iron deficiency. We also did an episode on zinc. That was a while ago, back on episode 79 it was. And today we're talking about magnesium for kids, the magic mineral for sleep and mood. And I know I personally love magnesium. It's so good for so many different uses, ages, and the fact is that many of us are just not getting enough magnesium through the food we're eating. And often it's not by fault of our own. The soil levels are depleted in magnesium, so the levels just are declining in our food as a whole. And I want to talk specifically about magnesium for kids today, but I want you to be thinking about yourself if you're not already taking some magnesium, because it's definitely one of the things that I take really regularly. I'm in that sort of perimenopausal phase. I'm 44, so I know it's really helping. I notice a big difference when I'm not taking magnesium in my mood and hormones and even energy, sleep. So it is really a magic mineral for so many of us. But when it comes to kids, there are so many benefits in terms of magnesium, particularly for sleep and mood. And when magnesium levels are low, symptoms can start to pop up, and they can be really hard to sort of gauge, like, oh yes, they need some magnesium, because the symptoms, can be related to lots of different things, which we'll go through in a moment. So let's talk about why magnesium is so important for healthy and happy kids. Magnesium's needed for over 300 chemical reactions that happen every day within our body. And so this affects, so many different functions and systems, including muscle function, nerve function, blood sugar regulation, the production of energy in cells. This one's really interesting because a lot of us think of magnesium as that calming mineral to help us, calm down, sleep better, reduce anxiety. But on a cellular level, magnesium is really important in that cellular energy production, which helps to improve our overall energy levels. It's also required in things like protein synthesis, DNA and RNA synthesis, bone growth and development. It plays an important role as well. So when it comes to magnesium for kids, it's particularly important for supporting mood and sleep. I'm going to repeat that over and over because I think it's really important to understand that. So kids need magnesium for balanced mood, to get into that really deep restorative sleep, and the ongoing growth and development that's happening within the body, particularly when it comes to nervous system function. But unfortunately, low magnesium is common in kids. The average child's diet is low in magnesium. And as I said, the soils are becoming more and more depleted of magnesium. So even if we're, eating really well, whole grains, green leafy veggies, those sorts of things, the levels in these foods that should be adequate and good sources of magnesium are declining. And kids need more magnesium, like they do with many, many nutrients, because they're going through more growth and development than us adults are. So some of the signs and symptoms of low magnesium that we might recognize in our kids are, I want to just sort of go through these. Constipation is a big one, and it's one of the it's something that we often recommend for constipation. We often forget that the bowel is a muscle that needs to contract and relax. And of course, magnesium is really important in that process. So if a child is constipated, they could be low in magnesium. If they have twitching muscles, if they get that eye twitch, my son was saying to me the other day, my eye's twitching, Mum. I'm like, you need to up your magnesium. He's going through a huge growth spurt at the moment. He's 15. So, he's just like transforming before my eyes. So it makes sense that through these high growth periods, they'll need more magnesium. Growing pains, restlessness, restless legs, sleep issues, teeth grinding, sensitivity to noise even can all be common signs and symptoms of magnesium. And there are certain conditions and health concerns that are associated with low magnesium. Kids with ADHD and autistic kids have been shown to have lower levels of magnesium, and magnesium can really help these kids, relax, sleep better, help with mood and behavior. Mood disorders. So if kids have anxiety or depression or just low general mood, you want to be thinking about magnesium. Headaches and migraines. And another thing that a lot of people wouldn't have thought about, correlating with magnesium is weight issues and obesity due to the fact or due to the effect that magnesium has on blood glucose and insulin levels. So as you can see, there are so many things that magnesium is needed for and associated with. So let's dive into, some of these areas and exactly how magnesium helps. So first I want to talk about mood, magnesium and mood. We often hear about magnesium as the calming or relaxing mineral, and this is because it has an overall calming effect on the nervous system. Great for so many of us adults and kids. So when our kids are wound up, they're hyperactive, they're irritable, magnesium is definitely something to think about. So magnesium promotes a neurotransmitter called GABA. GABA is an important brain chemical that also calms the nervous system. And when GABA is low, our kids might experience agitation, irritability, anxiety, poor attention, aggression. So if any of these sound familiar, your child may benefit from more magnesium and its effect that it has on the calming neurotransmitter GABA. When it comes to sleep, magnesium is associated with, or low magnesium, I should say, is associated with several sleep issues. Restless sleep, restless leg syndrome, frequent waking, difficulty getting to sleep can all be due to low magnesium. I just want to go off on a bit of a tangent here in terms of the restless legs. Yes, magnesium can help with restless legs, but you also want to be thinking about iron levels. And we talked a bit about iron. Well, we talked a lot about iron in last week's podcast episode. Iron deficiency is really common in people and kids that have restless leg syndrome. So GABA, that really important brain chemical that calms the nervous system, is also important for a restful sleep. So this is part of magnesium's role in supporting sleep. Studies support magnesium as a tool to improve sleep, and research has found that magnesium supplements can improve sleep quality and duration. So, the amount of sleep is important, but the quality of sleep is really important as well. Sleep, it's not just about how many hours our kids are sleeping, but it's getting into that deeper sleep that allows the body to perform so many essential processes related to resetting and repairing. And of course, sleep is a complex process. So magnesium isn't the answer to every sleep problem, but it will often help. And it's, one of our first go-tos. Let's talk about magnesium and stress support. So this might be relevant to us adults that are listening, but of course also our kids. Our kids are exposed to a lot of stress, even though we might think, gosh, wait till you become an adult and you've got all these responsibilities. But, stress for kids is are real, and particularly at certain sort of ages. So magnesium is really important in supporting the stress response. We need more magnesium when we are under stress, but when our stress levels are high, we excrete more magnesium. So we're kind of, wasting more magnesium when we need higher amounts. Some I don't know what happened in terms of, the body kind of doing that. We need more magnesium, so let's excrete more magnesium. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is what happens biochemically. So this leaves us with a gap that is hard to fill with food alone. So if you're experiencing, or your children are experiencing, a prolonged period of stress, a magnesium supplement is definitely a good idea. Even things that we might not think of as being stressful for our kids, moving house, simply growing up, obviously changing schools. These things can be big stresses for our kids, and just the daily life of being a child in today's world, can be stressful. They see certain things on the news, or, they have friendship issues and social issues. They are busy. They have busy schedules. It's go, 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 go all the time. And so they're using up a lot of magnesium. So magnesium really important in that stress support. And lastly, I want to talk about magnesium and hormone balance. So particularly with preteen and teen, both females and males, magnesium is needed to promote a good balance of hormones. So this is one area where magnesium is also just as essential for us mums. It's particularly useful for women over 40 as it promotes progesterone and supports estrogen detoxification and calms the nervous system and muscles. And this is really important in teenage girls as well, to promote that healthy progesterone production as they're going through puberty. So magnesium is a really great mineral for promoting overall hormone balance, and important for boys as well. So how do we include more magnesium in our kids' diets? There are two ways. Obviously, we want to look at diet, but we also can look at supplements. So magnesium is found in a range of whole foods. Things like nuts and seeds are rich in magnesium. Green veggies such as spinach and broccoli, avocado is a good source of magnesium as well. Whole grains. So we want to be moving our kids away from the refined, processed white grains, beige foods, towards more whole grains, even if it's just sometimes, even if we need to mix them up. So things like spelt and rye and brown rice and buckwheat and quinoa are good sources of magnesium. Legumes are as well. So chickpeas, kidney beans, lentils, fish is a good source of magnesium. And my favorite, dark chocolate, is a good source of magnesium as well. But thinking about that list, we can sort of get a sense that a lot of kids are not eating enough magnesium. And, there is that issue of depleted soils as well. So modern farming techniques don't replenish the soils. So the magnesium levels are lower even in the whole foods that contain magnesium, as I was sort of saying before. And so in many cases, trying to get magnesium through the diet alone can still lead to low levels. I would argue that it's almost impossible to get enough magnesium through the diet alone. So magnesium supplements can really help and make quite a quick difference to some of those signs and symptoms we commonly see when magnesium levels are low. The thing is there are so many magnesium supplements on the market, it can be really overwhelming. There's, magnesium comes in capsules, in tablets, in powders, in creams, in oils. Like, how do we choose the best magnesium? Now, as I always say, getting professional advice from a practitioner is really important. So we can offer support and advice and help in this area through our really convenient online consultations. You can find out all of the details on our website over at naturalsuperkids.com. I'll make sure the link to check out our appointment options and book online is in the show notes as well. But I do want to give you some, general tips. So one tip that I have is to look for a well-absorbed form. I think the range of magnesium supplements can be overwhelming, and then they're all in, there's lots of different forms of magnesium, which can make it even more overwhelming. So look for our top pick, which is a magnesium bisglycinate, bisglycinate, which is much easier to absorb and has fewer side effects for the tummy. So some people, when they take magnesium, can get tummy upset, can get a bit of loose bowels, diarrhea, and the bisglycinate form has less of those kinds of issues related to it. And then there's the dose. So the therapeutic dose of magnesium for kids, depends greatly on their age, of course, and what their symptoms are, what their overall health picture is, what their intake is like through their diet. It usually falls somewhere between 100 milligrams and 300 milligrams of elemental magnesium. So a lot of the cheaper gummy kiddie supplements that you'll find in the pharmacy will have much lower than that. That's the elemental magnesium. You want to be looking for, in that range of 100 to 300. 300 is definitely at the higher end for most kids, but that gives you sort of a good range. And then what about, before we move on to topical magnesium, I also want to mention there are some really great powdered magnesium supplements that taste really good, that we routinely recommend and prescribe to our club members and also to our clients in consultations. But different magnesium formulas will come with different nutrients in them. So some will come with taurine, for example, magnesium and taurine work beautifully together to calm the nervous system. Some have B vitamins in them. Some have more energy boosting vitamins in them. So you really want to choose the right supplement for your child's particular needs, and those supporting nutrients that are often found in magnesium formulas can make a big difference as well. So if you're, guessing yourself, you won't be getting you're most likely, unless you've had a lucky guess on what's going to be best for your child, you're not going to get the results. So it really is best to get some professional support. And then something we get asked a lot is topical magnesium. It can be easier to use an oil or a spray or magnesium flakes in the bath. And yes, this can be a really good idea. You can absorb magnesium through the skin, and for some, this might be enough of a boost to correct, magnesium deficiency or low magnesium levels. But from our experience, those topical magnesium oils, sprays, bath flakes do not compare to taking magnesium orally, internally, and achieving that it's much easier to achieve that more therapeutic dose. Those creams, lotions, bath flakes can be great as complementary to taking supplements. But, and I certainly have, a magnesium bath fairly regularly and love it, but it isn't, it's often not enough to meet the requirements needed by a lot of people in terms of magnesium levels. So I hope that's been really helpful. Let us know if you have any questions about magnesium or about, getting support through our practitioners for choosing the right magnesium for your child or even for yourself. As I said, I don't know if I could live without a magnesium supplement. And so you can certainly, look at our appointment page. We have express appointments available, which are just short 20-minute appointments. If you're just wanting to find a good magnesium supplement for yourself, or we have, the full hog with our initial appointment and treatment plan appointment, which is much more in depth. So if you're have any questions about which one is going to be best for you, you can reach out to us on Instagram is a great place over at Natural Super Kids, or you can email us, jessica@naturalsuperkids.com. And if you're not following us on Instagram, make sure you come on over and follow us. We share lots of great information, some funny stuff, some behind the scenes, but we know our followers learn a lot from following us over at Instagram. So we do our best to make our content on Instagram, really practical and informative for parents. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you can send it on to a friend, that is always greatly appreciated. It really helps us to get more exposure through our podcast here at Natural Super Kids. So I would, be really grateful if you could share this episode with a friend that you think would find this helpful. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week.